Listen, most people are building their lives like houses on a beach. The sand is soft. The view is beautiful. The photos look amazing. But the wise already know. The waves are coming. Not if. When. The Stoic question is brutal and honest. When the storm comes, what will still be standing? You and I grew up with a certain script. If I study hard, get a good job, marry well, build a name, and stay out of trouble, life will be safe. We were trained to chase a title for respect, a relationship for security, a bank account for confidence, a location for comfort, a body image for approval. Nothing wrong with any of those. The problem is when they become your foundation instead of your furniture. You can move furniture. You can lose furniture. You can change furniture. But when your foundation shakes, the whole house trembles. Marcus Aurelius wrote about an inner citadel. A citadel is an inner fortress, a stronghold inside the city walls. When enemies break through the outer wall, the people retreat into the citadel. It is the last line of defense. Marcus said, in essence, people look for retreats in the country, by the sea, in the mountains, but the best retreat is within your own soul. He was emperor of Rome. He had power, armies, palaces, and yet he knew the safest place in the empire was not the marble, not the soldiers, not the gold. It was the way he thought, the values he held, the character he practiced, his inner citadel. Imagine two people. Both lose their job on the same day. Person A has built their identity purely on their title. I am senior manager. I am doctor. I am head of department. I am CEO. So when the job goes, they don't just lose income. They lose themselves. Their thoughts spiral. Who am I now? If I am not this role, am I still valuable? What will people think? Have I failed at life? Their house was built on the sand of position. The wave arrived. The house collapsed. Person B also worked hard. They also loved their role. They also gave their best. But deep inside, they live from a different sentence. I am someone who shows up with integrity. I am someone who learns fast. I am someone who treats people well. I am someone who finishes what I start. They lose the job. Yes, it hurts. Yes, they are afraid. Yes, they cry. But when the fear quiets a little, another voice speaks. They took the title. They didn't take my discipline. They didn't take my skills. They didn't take my courage. They didn't take my God. They didn't take my character. Their foundation is deeper than the surface loss. Their citadel stands. Seneca said, we should fortify ourselves with the conviction that there are no evils in life, only in our judgments. He did not mean that pain isn't real, or that loss doesn't hurt. He meant that the true disaster is not outside. The true disaster is when something outside destroys something inside that didn't need to be destroyed. Losing money is painful. Losing integrity is tragic. Losing a relationship is heartbreak. Losing the ability to love again is catastrophe. Losing status stings. Losing your soul's fire is death while breathing. The inner citadel is what protects the essential you. Let's get uncomfortably real. Look at your own life right now. Where's your sense of safety hooked? On your job? On one person's approval? On your appearance? On your bank balance? On your country of residence? On your follow account? Ask yourself, honestly, if this one thing disappeared, would I feel like my entire self disappeared too? If the answer is yes, you have built a temple on a temporary object, and temporary things always fall. A wise teacher once said, do not build your house on sand. Build on the rock. The Stoic version of that rock is your inner citadel. It is the part of you that cannot be bought, flattered, fired, or seduced. It is the you that still exists if your phone disappears, your job changes, your relationship ends, your plans fail. It is the you that will still be there in sickness, in exile, in old age, in obscurity. Marcus had plague, war, betrayal, illness, constant responsibility. Yet in his private writings he reminds himself again and again, look within. Within is the fountain of good. You think safety is out there. The wise say, safety, as far as it exists, is in hay. But this raises a hard question. If there is such a thing as an inner citadel, why do so few people seem to have one? Why do we see strong people break? Why do we see successful people crumble? Why do we see people with massive outer lives and fragile inner worlds? Because the inner citadel is not a gift. It is not a horoscope. It is not a personality type. It is built, stone by stone, choice by choice, habit by habit. You are not born with it. You become it. So in this first part, I want to pierce a lie gently but clearly. Your safety is not waiting in the next achievement, or the next location, or the next person, or the next validation. If you do not build your inner citadel, you will carry your fear into every new season, new job, same anxiety, new relationship, same insecurity, new country, same emptiness. You changed the scenery. You did not change the structure. The world keeps asking you, will you keep rearranging the furniture, or will you finally reinforce the foundation? In the next segment, we go inside the walls. We will ask, what exactly is this citadel made of? What materials do we use when everything outside is unstable? The answer is not more money, not more popularity, not more influence. It is something older, quieter, and infinitely more powerful. Virtue. If the inner citadel is a fortress, what are the bricks? Not your CV, not your degree, not your About Me bio, not your Instagram feed. The inner citadel is built from what the ancients called virtues. The Stoics focused on four: wisdom, seeing clearly, thinking rightly; courage, doing what is right, even when afraid; justice, treating others fairly, honoring what is due; temperance, self-control, balance, discipline. Other traditions add compassion, humility, patience, faithfulness. Different language, same idea. Who you are when no one is watching. Who you are when everything is taken away. Modern life has flipped the script. We are trained to obsess over labels instead of qualities. Doctor instead of healer. Influencer instead of truth teller. Manager instead of servant leader. Married person instead of loving, reliable partner. Titles are cheap. They can be handed to you, bought, or faked. Virtues are expensive. You must suffer to grow them. You must choose them when they feel inconvenient. You must pay for them in ego, time, and comfort. Let's walk into your funeral for a moment. Uncomfortable, but stay with me. There are two kinds of things people could say. CV stuff. She had 2 degrees. He built 3 companies. She was head of this. He was the youngest at. And then there are soul stories. She never betrayed a friend. He was honest, even when it cost him. She always made people feel safe. He apologized when he was wrong. She didn't gossip. He protected those who were vulnerable. The first kind impresses strangers. The second kind comforts the people who actually knew you. The inner citadel is made of the second kind. Epictetus put it this way: don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Don't talk about being calm. Practice being calm. Don't preach about honesty. Tell the truth when lying would benefit you. Don't post about kindness. Be kind when there's nothing in it for you. This is bricklaying. Small, daily, unglamorous choices. You don't feel like you're building a fortress. But one day, life hits you with something heavy, and you suddenly discover, wait, I didn't break. I bent. I cried. But I didn't break. That is the sound of your inner citadel showing itself. Look at how fragile identities are built. I am my job. I am my relationship. I am my productivity. I am my appearance. I am my follow account. I am my bank balance. Now look at how durable identities are built. I am someone who keeps my word. I am someone who learns from pain. I am someone who forgives, but does not pretend. I am someone who loves truth more than approval. I am someone who shows up, even when it's hard. One list can be taken away by external events. The other list can only be surrendered from within. No one can force you to become a liar, a coward, a traitor, a cruel person. They can threaten you, pressure you, tempt you, but the final yes or no is still yours. That yes or no is another brick in your citadel. Let's make this extremely practical. Ask yourself, if all my titles disappeared, what kind of person would remain? Forget your job, your education, your status, your romantic status, your visible achievements. Answer with qualities, not roles. I am patient or easily triggered, generous or stingy, faithful or fickle, honest or manipulative, disciplined or lazy, courageous or cowardly, teachable or proud. No need to lie to yourself. The walls won't get thicker if you pretend. The inner citadel is built not by appearing strong, but by admitting where you are weak and choosing to train there. Training, not pretending. If you want to be courageous, you train by doing one small scary right thing each day. Speak up gently when you'd rather stay silent. Say, "I'm sorry," when your ego wants to explain. Say, "No," when people-pleasing wants to say yes. If you want to build wisdom, you train by watching your reactions before you act on them, listening more than you talk, reading deeply instead of drowning in shallow content, asking, "What is really going on here?" instead of reacting to the safest. If you want temperance, you train by stopping when you've had enough food, instead of punishing your body, closing the app when you said you would, going to bed at the time you promised yourself, choosing enough over more. If you want justice, you train by paying people fairly, admitting when you made a mistake, defending someone being mistreated, even quietly, refusing to use people, even when you have the power to do so. These are the daily bricks. They don't look like much, but when the storm hits, they are worth more than gold. There's a story told in many forms. Two people go through the same loss. One becomes bitter, one becomes deeper. What was the difference? Not the pain, not the event, not the length of the storm. The difference was the hidden structure inside. Pain will meet you as you are. If you are hollow, it will echo. If you are stone, it will hit and ring, but not shatter you. The inner citadel does not guarantee a painless life. It guarantees a meaningful life. A life where suffering can be transformed, not just endured. Rumi, the poet, wrote, "Where there is ruin, there is hope for a treasure." Stoicism would add, "Yes, but only if you have been secretly building that treasure inside yourself all along. Otherwise, ruin just reveals emptiness." So the question for you today is not, how can I get a life when nothing bad ever happens? The question is, how do I become someone who remains grounded, dignified, and aligned with what is right, no matter what happens? That is the project. That is the work. In the next segment, we will walk into the storm. We will imagine what happens when your world shakes, and we will practice what it means to stand inside your inner citadel instead of collapsing outside with the rubble. Let's stop talking theory. Let's walk straight into the storm. Imagine, the phone rings, the doctor's voice changes, the message arrives, the partner says, "We need to talk." The company announces restructuring. The government changes the rule overnight. The border closes. The test comes back positive. The friend betrays you. We like to think our life changes slowly. Often, it changes in one sentence. Everything outside you trembles. In that moment, what does it mean to have an inner citadel? What do you actually do? First, understand this. Having an inner citadel does not mean you feel nothing. You are not a rock. You are not a robot. You are not a statue. You are a human being with nerves, hormones, memories, hopes. Even the wisest tremble. Seneca admitted he sometimes felt fear wash over him. Marcus wrote about feeling overwhelmed, tired, irritated. The difference is not whether the wave hits. The difference is what you do after it hits. Do you drown in the wave? Or do you find your footing under it? When the news hits you, your nervous system does what it does. Heart races, hands shake, breath shortens, thoughts spin. The first move of the inner citadel is not to deny the reaction. It is to anchor in the middle of it. One breath. Slow, deep, a simple inner sentence. I have just been hit by a wave. I will not decide my whole life from inside this wave. This is your first act of inner leadership. You delay your conclusions. You don't promise yourself anything. You don't curse your life. You don't swear that you'll never recover. You breathe, and you wait for the first intensity to pass. A practical Stoic tool here is what they call premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. It sounds dark. It's actually deeply protective. It means quietly acknowledging beforehand that some storms are possible. My loved ones are mortal. My job is not guaranteed. My body can become sick. People can betray me. Plans can fail. Not to live in paranoia, but to live in prepared acceptance. So when the storm comes, you don't say, "This should never have happened to me." You say, "I knew this was one of the possibilities of being alive. It has come. I will now face it." That shift alone removes a layer of shock and self-pity. You are not singled out by the universe. You are a human being, and this is part of the human package. Now, inside the Citadel, you ask 3 questions. What is actually happening now? Not the story in your head. The facts. What is in my control in this situation? Thoughts, actions, words, next steps. How can I respond in a way that honors my virtues? Wisdom, courage, justice, temperance, compassion. For example, you lose your job. Facts. I no longer have this position. My income will drop from X to Y. I have savings of Z. I have skills A, B, C. Control. I can update my CV, reach out to contacts, reduce some spending, look for opportunities, keep my daily routine. Virtue. I will not speak slander about everyone. I will not collapse into self-hatred. I will stay honest and diligent. The storm is real. The fear is real. But your stance is chosen. Another example. A relationship ends. Facts. This person has chosen to leave, or I have chosen to leave. Communication is broken. We are no longer building a shared future. Control. I can feel my grief instead of numbing it. I can set healthy boundaries. I can avoid humiliating myself by chasing aggressively. I can learn from my mistakes. I can lean on supportive people. I can take care of my body. Virtue. I will not become cruel. I will not spread lies. I will not let this turn my heart into stone. I will grieve, but I will not worship my pain. Inside the Citadel, you keep asking, what kind of person do I want to be in this storm? Not how do I avoid all pain, but how do I walk through pain with dignity? Marcus wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." The storm is no longer only an enemy. It becomes training. This does not mean you enjoy it. It means you refuse to let it be wasted. You ask, what is this teaching me about myself? What illusion is this destroying that needed to go? What muscle is this forcing me to grow? Patience, courage, humility, compassion. You are not just surviving. You are sculpting. The outer world breaks your plans. The inner world shapes your character. What about spiritual safety? Many spiritual traditions agree with the Stoics on this point. True safety is not immunity from storms. True safety is companionship and alignment inside the storm. For some, that means trusting God's presence. For others, that means trusting the order of the universe or the wisdom of reality. The details differ, but the posture is similar. I will do my part faithfully, and I will trust that I am held by something greater than my faith. In that place, courage is not reckless. It is deeply rooted. You are no longer betting on life going your way. You are betting on your ability, with God's help, to walk any road that appears under your feet. Practically, how do you reinforce your citadel while the storm is happening? 3 daily practices. Ritual of return. Every day, even for 5 minutes, you return to yourself. Sit quietly. Breathe slowly. Ask, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What am I afraid of? You don't judge. You notice. This stops your emotions from secretly driving the car while you pretend to be calm. Ritual of reflection. At night, review the day. Where did I act from my virtues? Where did I act from fear, ego, or anger? What will I adjust tomorrow? No drama. No self-hate. Just honest correction. Ritual of recommitment. Each morning, recommit. Today, I choose courage over avoidance. Today, I choose honesty over comfort. Today, I choose discipline over impulse. Today, I choose compassion over resentment. You speak to your own soul like a commander to a soldier. These practices are like checking the walls, reinforcing weak points, repairing cracks. The storms will test your citadel. But testing is not always destruction. Sometimes the storm reveals, this wall is weak. This gate is unguarded. This stone is cracked. Good. Now you know where to build. You don't despise yourself because you shook. You thank the storm for revealing where you needed more work. Then you begin again. In the end, the inner citadel is not about being untouchable. It is about being unbreakable in the deepest sense. Your heart can break, but it will remain open. Your plans can fail, but your purpose will remain alive. Your body can weaken, but your spirit will remain awake. The world will change. People will change. You will change. But one thing can remain clear and steady. Your commitment to live as a person of truth, courage, justice, and self-mastery. That commitment is the stone of your citadel. Guard it, build it, return to it. Because in a world of shifting sands, your greatest wealth is not what you own, but who you have become.